Alright, this is direct and inverse variation worksheet. They're not in any particular order. Hopefully you'll be able to find the problems. Alright, in this set of problems, all you're doing is finding the constant of variation. Alright, the directions say the variable y varies directly with x. So that means we're going to have y equals, it's directly, so it's kz. I did say x, but it's z. Alright, so whenever you see this sentence, y varies directly with z, so some variable varying directly with another variable. The y is going to be over here, and directly means k and z are at the same level. It's going to be just k times z. Alright, now we use this information, fill it in. Y is 45. K is the one we're looking for, and z is 3. Solve this for k. Right, I'm dividing by 3. 45 divided by 3 gives me 15. So that is my k. Number 2, the variable a varies inversely with b. When it's inversely, the variable here goes in the denominator. Okay, k is always in the numerator. Right? This is considered to be in the numerator up there. It's still in the numerator here. Okay? And then they give us a is 8. We don't know what k is when b equals 0.2. Alright, solve this for k. That means you're going to multiply 8 times 0.2, making it 1.6. So that's what the k is, 1.6. That is the constant of variation. All the rest of the problems works basically the same way. Alright, that's the constant of variation. Now this one looks very similar. It starts the same way. The variable x varies directly with y. So that description of the relationship between x and y is there. And they give us information about x and y. But the directions are different. It says write an equation that relates x and y. So we still need to find k. But once we find k, it's not enough to say what k is. We're going to put it back into the equation. All right, so this is what this looks like. X varies directly with y. So it's x equals ky. X is 200. K is unknown. Y is 4. Divide by 4 and we get k equals 50. Alright. Now, since k is 50, when we write the equation, we write x equals 50y. And that's what that's looking for. Right? So what we've done is replace the k with the value we found here. Alright. Now let's do number 2. This is varying inversely. So P varies inversely with Q. So it's K over Q. Alright. Now, substitute the values we have. Replace the P with 2/3 and Q with 3/4. Okay. So you know when you have a number down there, to solve for k, we're going to multiply. I'm going to write this out because I know many of you have problems with fractions. We're going to multiply it out. So it's 3/4 times 2/3 equals k. All right. And I'm also going to do the reducing before I multiply. The 3 and the 3 reduce. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 twice. So I'm left with 1 over 2. So k is 1/2. All right. All right. So then my equation is going to be P equals k is 1/2. It's 1 over 2q. Now that is a really ugly way to leave a problem. Okay, so whenever you have a fraction in the numerator like that, this is the same thing as saying 1/2 times 1 over q. Right? Remember, whenever you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. So it's q in the denominator, so you'll be dividing by q. So it's times 1 over q. So my final answer is P equals, and you multiply straight across here, so it's 1 over 2q. Alright. And that's for that part. Let's do this part. Now, select all the equations that model direct variation. What you're going to do with these problems is just solve for y, right? Whether it's direct variation or indirect variation, solve it for y. So here, I'm going to move the 5 over. That would be y over x equals 6. Continuing to solve for y, I got y equals 6x. Right? Multiply by x. So that has that form. So this is a direct variation. Continue. Subtract the 2 from -2. That gives you negative y over x equals -4. Multiply by x, you get negative y equals -4x. Divide by negative, you get y equals positive 4x. So that's that form again, y equals kx. Solve this one for y. So that'll be negative y equals x, y equals negative x. My k in this case is -1. So that is also 1. Alright, let's continue to number part D. Add 5 to both sides, I get xy equals 6. I'm solving for y, so I divide by x. So I get y equals 6 over x. This is not a direct variation, that's an inverse variation. So that's no good. So that's how you do these, right? You solve these for y, and when you look at your final example or final equation, does it have the form y equals kx? If it does, then it's a direct variation. If it doesn't, and it doesn't have to have indirect inverse variation, it could be anything weird. Okay, and then if it's not, if it doesn't have that form y equals kx, then it's not a direct variation. All right, let's look at the graphs. Well, let's do an inverse variation. Here we go. All right, here, y over 7 plus 7 equals 8. Oh, I'm sorry, I said y over 7, didn't I? I said x over y, so it's going to be x over y equals 1. Multiply by y. Multiply by y and you get x equals y. Well, that's no good. Alright, that's going to be a direct variation. Alright, here we're going to divide by 2. When we divide by 2, I get 5 over x, and that is a inverse variation. Okay, so that's an example of inverse variation. Let's continue with this one. I'm going to move the 6 over x over, so it's negative 6 over x, and then get rid of the negative on the y. I got y equals positive 6 over x, and that's an inverse variation. Okay, continue with this one. Move the y over, that'll be 6y equals 3 over x. Divide by 6, giving you 1 over 2x. Okay, so that's an inverse variation. Okay, as long as the x is in the denominator, that's okay. It can be joined by other numbers. Okay, as long as the x is not in the numerator, you're good. So only A is not an inverse variation. All right, let's look at the graphs. The graphs here. Select the graph that shows direct variation. Remember, a graph has to be for a direct variation, has to be a line, and it has to go through the origin. Through origin. And there's only one there, so that's B. Alright. And 6, inverse variation, it has to have this shape. It can't do this, and it can't do that. Alright. This is definitely in the videos. Alright, so it's just A. And here. Okay, now we want to determine whether a table is direct variation or inverse variation. To test for direct variation, the best thing to do is just divide. Right? So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Negative 60 divided by negative 12 is 5. And I always divide y by x, or the second row by the top row. 35 divided by 7 is 5. Negative 40 divided by negative is 5. So this is when all these numbers are the same after division, then it is a direct variation, and k is that number. If you divide it the other way, you'd have to go back and divide y by x. So why not start by dividing y by x to begin with? Alright, so here, 6 divided by 24 is 1/4. Oh, that's not good. 1/7, 1/9, 1/2. Okay, that's not good. Okay, so this was division, and that didn't really do any good. Okay, now try multiplication. So I'm going to multiply 24 times 6. Okay, why am I trying multiplication? Multiplication is a way to test to see if it is an inverse variation. What's 6 times 24? Doing it on a calculator. And I'm not getting anything. 144. Oh, should have known that. All right. 7 times 49, it's not 144. It's like 1... 343. That's nowhere near 1 something. All right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. 82. It's 72 times 8. Oh my gosh, I can't do that in my head. That's 576. Okay, that's enough. All right, none of these are the same, and that didn't work out. So this is neither. Some students ask, well, do you need to solve for a constant of variation if it's neither? If it's neither, there is no constant of variation. So no, you don't. All right, let's do one more. All right, looking at this, divide. I'm going to get 2/3 and 1/6. They're different. Stop dividing. Yeah, this one I kept going. I don't know why. But here, if they're different once, you don't need to check this. You don't. They only need to be different once. So that's no good. So now try multiplying. 6 times 4 is 24. 2 times 12 is 24. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. That's positive 24. All right, so that is an inverse relation, inverse variation. When you multiply the numbers and you get a constant number, it's an inverse variation. And then your constant is that number, k equals 24. All right, that's all the examples I'm doing. That's it. Hope it's helpful. Bye-bye.